Hi everyone, this is Daisutsui here. I come from a very different background from many artists. I didn't take any art classes when I was a kid. I wasn't one of those kids who loved films. When I was growing up, I simply didn't do much art. I wanted to be a baseball player. I did nothing but playing baseball in my childhood in Japan. But it was only when I was 18 when I realized that I wasn't that good at baseball. In Japan, especially when I was growing up, you really can't go to college if you don't study to prepare for a college exam. Playing baseball all the time meant I had no future in Japan. So I came to America, thinking something will pan out here in the land of American dreams. Because I spoke no English, one of the few classes I could take in the community college that I went to was an art class. As it is common for old retired people to take courses at community college in the States, more than half of my classmates were over 65 years old. There, those old people told me I was a talented artist. Growing up in Japan where compliments weren't a part of our culture, I took their words seriously. That's when I decided to pursue art. Of course, I realized later that those retired nice and old people were saying the same thing to everybody else. but really, since then, my life passion became art. And just like baseball, the fact I wasn't so good at it didn't stop me from doing it all the time. And this is something I really want to stress. I do not believe in natural talent. We all do have our individual strengths and characteristics, and everything we do will show who we are as individuals, if we like it or not. But the skills we can nurture, like drawing and painting skills, can be learned. Some may learn more quickly than others, and we all have different tastes as for what we like, what kind of art we like. But if you do like the type of drawing and painting I respond to, all you can do is to practice, nothing else. You will be able to do it. I've been in the entertainment industry for 16 years now. After working for a small game company for a few years, my first animation film project was at Blue Sky Studios working on Ice Age. I studied painting and illustration in school. I actually didn't even think about animation too much until my senior year. I only came into animation field because I needed a visa to stay in this country. I just wanted to paint. But it's funny how things work in life sometimes. I went into animation because my visa status forced me to. But I fell in love with it. My love for painting never faded, but growing up playing a team sport really made me miss working with people. And work of animated film production involved a lot of collaboration with other artists. It almost felt like a perfect job for me. Robots was the second film I worked at Blue Sky. The film had a long journey in development, and I was involved with it from very early stage to finish. One thing about working in animated film production is that you get to work with incredibly talented people. Some are a strong designer or painter who you can learn from, but some will bring completely different skill set to teach you something else equally important. Blue Sky only started doing feature film when I started there, so all of us were trying to figure out as we went along, and that worked out extremely well for me, as they were willing to take chance with me even though I had zero experience before Blue Sky. I often advise young people that maybe they should start at the small places instead of coming to big ones like Pixar, because you will have more opportunities sooner to gain experience. At least it worked out for me. It was around the time that I started working on the third film at Blue Sky, Horton Hears a Who, that I started to feel like I wasn't growing as much at Blue Sky. Also, my father in Japan fell ill, and I wanted to be closer to home if I could. With all that going in my life, I received an email from Pixar's Lee Unkrich. He started the pre-production of Toy Story 3 as a director and reached out to me to say he wanted me to art direct his film. It's funny how things work in life. Everything lined up, although I wasn't pursuing it. I was meant to make a jump at Pixar. At the time, Pixar was the solo king of the hill in the industry. They had a hit after hit, and everything they put out was not only financially successful, but was a masterful story. I wanted to really see what they did differently from Blue Sky. I wanted to know the secret. While the way studio worked at Pixar was vastly different from Blue Sky, I found out that there was no secret to make a great film. Pixar struggles just like everybody else. It is hard to make good films. If there's a secret formula, it probably wouldn't be a good film that can touch people's heart like all the early Pixar films have done. That was a great wake-up call for me. Just like painting and drawing, it is something you pour your heart into, struggle with, fail at, and then get better at. We often focus on the results, get discouraged by the reality of where you are, contrary to where you want to be. But what's really important is the journey itself, the path you take to get to where you want to be, including failures and struggles along the way. At Pixar, I really learned how all these fancy paintings need to serve the film, not the painting itself. It seems like a no-brainer, but I gotta say, Pixar seems to be practicing that philosophy more than any other studio at the time. Here are some examples of my lighting key paintings and what the talented Pixar lighting artist did after that. It is actually very, very common that artists who paint really beautiful textures neglect to understand light. Especially with digital paint media handy today, lots of fancy tools and tricks can be used without really understanding light. I admire many CG lighting artists in this business. Many of them actually understand lights better than us painters, and they can tell if your concept paintings are actually helping them or not. By working closely with them, I felt like it was my job to learn the same language as theirs and really do a painting that can help the film rather than something simply pretty. There are many, many aspects of things that made my career what it is, but one thing I always stay true to is that I never neglected the power of observation. Robert Henry said in Art Spirit that it's harder to see than to paint. Miyazaki once said that if you want to learn animation, observe human behaviors. I too believe that believability comes from observing the beauty of life, whether it's light, color, character behavior, and even story. This is a picture on New York Times of me painting in a pouring rain. I used to get together with my friends in New York streets every weekend morning, no matter what weather, how hot or cold. It was so much fun. In school, I had great oil painting teachers who taught me what it means to be an artist. They stressed the importance of observation of life. Hand technique of painting is secondary to ability to observe. I spent most of my school time on figure oil painting. I remember waking up with the smell of turpentine, excited to go to the class before anyone else so that I could get the best painting spot in class. I'll just share some of the heroes that I studied when I was in school. Obviously, John Singer Sargent, Rembrandt, Velasquez, Sorolla, Zorn, Repin, Arkhipov, Robert Henry, George Bellows, and more illustrators like Norman Rockwell, N.C. Wyeth, Dean Conwell, J.C. Leyendecker, just to name a few. And I think I always was attracted to paintings that evoke human feelings. based on what artists observed, what they felt, what they saw. Not so much of those technically well painted artwork, but the ones that made me feel something. That's what I was gravitated towards since I was in school. And these guys, these artists, I realized try to capture that feeling. So even after I graduated from school, I kept painting from observation as I enjoyed it so much and I realized that was so important to me. I painted many, many street scenes in New York City, like these, and parks, and sometimes my friends painting together. I'm more of an oil painter, but started doing watercolor as well since it's more portable. Painted watercolor on sketchbook, like moleskin sketchbooks like these, like that. I always painted when I traveled as well, as I saw a different quality of lights everywhere I went. This is obviously in Paris, Colombia, Toledo, Spain, Rome, Italy. This is Nicaragua, Buenos Aires in Argentina, and even Japan. I carry a sketchbook everywhere. If I don't have paint, I still draw based on observation. If I don't have a sketchbook, maybe I draw on a menu. In this course, we will be painting digitally as it makes things easier to coordinate on this online teaching. There's a lot of debate over digital painting versus traditional painting, but as our course is focused on observation, it really doesn't matter whether it's digital or traditional. It's still based on what you are observing, capturing the feeling, capturing the light and the design of what you are responding to through your eyes. Okay, I'm sure you're all sick of hearing me and Robert talk about ourselves. Let's actually start our lesson now.